Do you know you muted?
The whole motherfluffing time. Once again. Oh my God, once again. If I could just rewind that, I would. I'm so glad you noticed that I muted because for the last 2 or 3 minutes, I have been completely muted. That sucks. Basically what I was saying was all the things that you already know.
Talking, but my computer is acting really slow, so I couldn't tell.
Well, and like your lighting is really weird, so I was like, maybe you're just having some issues over there, no big deal. But I had no clue that I was banned. Are you trying to log in from another page? I keep seeing this other person trying to log in, but I can't add them into the conversation. Maybe you can grab them. I can't do it. My phone's still broken, obviously. Whoever best practices is, I don't know who that is. Welcome to the page, though. So let me quickly try to do this again since I am no longer on mute. I apologize. Everything I just said, clearly you could not hear. Welcome to the page. Welcome to Free Thinkers. Tonight we are doing Pick a Post. Pick a Post is basically where you go onto the Facebook group page and you literally pick a post. Anything that has been posted recently, or it could have been an old post that maybe you just never got a chance to have a conversation about and you still want to. That's what we're doing tonight. So go to the Facebook Free Thinkers page, just scroll through a little bit. And if you see something that you've already chimed in on or want to discuss, just save it and let's talk about it. You can interact a couple different ways. You can interact on the YouTube channel in the comment section. You can interact on the stream on the Facebook Free Thinkers page in the comment section, or you can interact on my stream that's on my personal page in the comment section. If you interact in one of those 3 spaces, whether it's with other people or just commenting posts to us, we do see those, but you only can see each other's comments in whatever stream you are in. And we do strongly encourage you and invite you to interact with other people in the stream post that you're in if you are commenting on, if you're commenting live. If you want to join the conversation tonight, and again, we would love to have you join us. We would love to have a face on here with us. Go to the Facebook group page, same rules every Tuesday. Go to the Facebook group page, and at the very top of the page, there's a pinned post that has the StreamYard link. Click the link, and it'll bring you directly into the conversation. We do ask that you leave your mic on, of course, unless you're not talking and there's a bunch of background noise in your video, so that, of course, we can see you and know who we're talking to. If you're not in a position to where you can use your video, that's totally okay. We just like to see who we're talking to. Occasionally, especially like last week's stream, we noticed a lot of people who were commenting. I don't know if it's how you log in, the permissions that you may or may not give, but for some reason, Facebook was not picking up, or StreamYard was not picking up who was commenting. So if you notice that your posts are showing up here on our screen as a Facebook user, it's not showing us who you are. So just comment, hey, this is so-and-so, so that we know who we're talking to. Always checking permissions, though, because I think that's a thing that you have to agree to whenever you click the StreamYard link, giving Facebook permission, and so on and so forth. Share the page, share. We appreciate you being here, appreciate your support, appreciate you liking the pages, following us over on YouTube. And of course, we're always open for topic suggestions as well. Adult content, so that's our language and our content warning for anybody who may have little people or folks that you're not really sure about listening to these conversations. But these are adult conversations, so there is adult content involved. That is your warning in advance. And so tonight, pick a post. We have a lot of conversations happening on the Facebook page. So Tuesday night this is not all we do. This is just what we do. General Free Thinkers group family is just a whole bunch of different random conversations over on the Facebook page. So if you've not joined us over there, please do join that group, because that's where conversations like tonight are going to come from, is the posts that people have put on the Facebook page. So with that being said, best practices. I don't know if you can hear me. I see that you're muted. So would love to know who that is. Hopefully you will tell us who we're talking to, because I cannot tell by the picture who that is. But anyways, we're going to talk about pick a post stuff tonight. So Q, did you have any particular posts in mind that you wanted to start with, or anything in particular you want to mention or address before we get started? I feel like I had a rant I needed to cover and I don't remember what it was, so it obviously wasn't that important. But any posts in particular that you want to start with? Uh-oh, are you frozen? You are frozen. If you can hear me. Is it me frozen? All right. If you're watching, who's frozen? I see Q is frozen. Am I frozen? Can you hear me at all? If you're watching, comment. Let me know where you're watching from. Yeah, Q is definitely frozen. All right. So I'm going to just start off and let me see if I can pull up the image to one of, there you are. Now you're unfrozen. Can you hear me? Damn, you're frozen back again. I'm going to pull up one of the images to a post that actually I had posted earlier today, but I thought it was interesting, or maybe I posted it yesterday, but I thought it was interesting. And it's definitely made for some interesting conversation over on the Facebook group page. This conversation probably won't be terribly exciting if it's just me by myself, but I'm going to throw it up here anyway so you can see what I'm talking about. And would love for you to chime in on this. And again, there's a lot of conversation about this one already currently on the Facebook page, so feel free to jump over there and read some of the comments. But this was online earlier today, and I thought it was an interesting share. So let me throw my glasses on real quick so I can read this. It says, I feel like female contribution to the family can be summed up in the simple fact that mothers could absolutely never have a secret family. When I read this, I thought it was really self-explanatory. There wasn't much to be misunderstood, in my opinion. Of course, I'm a mother, and I'm a woman, and I'm a female-born woman. So I've given birth to children. So when I saw this, I was like, this is a no-brainer. I totally 100% agreed with this. There's very small probability, and there's always exceptions to the rules, but I agreed that there was small probability that mothers could have a second secret family. And I think some of the feedback that was posted on there, because I did call it disheartening, and I appreciate and value and respect the people that did respond to that post, but it was disheartening. And the reason I said that was, I think the purpose of the message was the sentiment of a second family, right? Because if you have a second family, a secret second family, that's not just like, I got kids out there I don't take care of. This is a secret second family. So that would imply, to me anyways, that there are people involved, there are people being taken care of, there are support being given, whether it's financial, whether it's spiritual, whether it's emotional. There's some form of support given to this second family. And I felt as though it was a true testament to motherhood, that a mom really can't be spread that much to where she could take care of her primary home and also take care of a secondary home. However, that didn't seem to be the shared sentiment with some of the posts some of the replies that were posted. Q, are you still frozen, or are you back with me? No, he's still frozen. So first thought, let's see what we got here. Yeah, and it's not telling me who this is, so I have no clue who that is. I have no clue who this is. Yeah, I'm not really quite sure who that is posting, but I appreciate you for posting. So the sentiment was that women lie, women hide pregnancies. Some of the replies were that women lie, women hide pregnancies, women certainly have abandoned children and started up relationships elsewhere. Absolutely, totally, 100%. All of those things apply. I felt as though this wasn't that. I felt that when you read the statement, a secret second family, there was no question about the fact that this person was this mother was taking care of this secret second family. So with exceptions to, a woman lying about paternity, that's not the same thing as taking care of two families. She could have lied about paternity and never, ever, ever, ever told a soul. And so maybe the husband that she's raising this child with, that she's lied about, doesn't know that it's not his child, but she's not raising two families. She still has her primary. Granted, it may not be his kid, but that's his primary. So that's not the same thing as secret families. Somebody had mentioned a movie where the mom had abandoned her children, and she then got remarried, had more children, and of course they then find out that she had these previous children in this previous life. That's not the same thing. She wasn't taking care of a secret second family. She abandoned them fucking kids. Like, she was not available at all to them in any way. So yeah, a woman could have some kids, abandon that family, and start up her new life with a new group of people. That's not taking care of two families simultaneously, your primary and your secret. You've got cases where women have aborted. You've got cases where women have lied about possibly losing a child that she never lost and then had a baby. So there's a lot of sneaky things and deceitful things that women have done and do, and certainly around, pregnancy when that happens. So nobody is saying that those things don't happen, but that's not what this meant. This meant moms can't have secret families, but who can? Who do we typically have in society that has multiple families, secret families? Who has kids across town? Who has kids across this town? Who has kids that you've been told about? Oh, well, this family and this family, you got to watch out for them when we go to family reunions, because they may be your cousins, they may be your siblings. Men are the ones that carry on secret second families. My point was that women can only have, one kid every 9 months. Men can impregnate however many people a day you can physically have sex with. So men could have hundreds of babies a year, hundreds. I can have one. Men can have hundreds. Women do not typically have secret second families. Mothers aren't able to be spread that thin to where she could take care of her primary and then also take care of the secondary. So as a woman, as a mother, it felt like this was highlighting the significance of a mother in the family system. How much she does, how much she takes care of her family, what she does, the amount of time spent doing the things that she's required to do to run her household, to run her family, that there isn't enough time. There's no way she could be dedicating a percentage of that same energy being a mother to her primary family as she could to a secret secondary family. Then there was the conversation of, will women hide it? Okay, well, yeah, women do hide pregnancies. Women do lie. And sometimes women don't know that they're pregnant. I've never been one of those women, so it's a weird phenomenon, but I understand it. Some people get it, right? So a statement that was shared was, man, I just lost my train of thought. It was about, damn it, I completely lost my train of thought. Anyways, women's ability to be able to provide for multiple households is going to be stretched. There's no way, I shouldn't say no way. It's difficult, going back to my point, I forgot. It's difficult to consider a woman being pregnant for 9 months, hiding that pregnancy, which is possible, but for most women it's not, hiding the pregnancy, having a delivery, whether you had it at home, in a car, in a shed, or at the hospital, doesn't matter, having the baby, recovering from delivery, which takes, even if you're Superwoman, you're still going to have some downtime. You could hop back and maybe be to work in, a week or two, assuming you had an easy delivery. But for the most part, recovery takes, 3 to 6 weeks for many women. So you've got pregnancy, 9 months, you've got delivery, you've got recovery. We're talking about damn near a year worth of time spent being pregnant to somehow be married or be in a committed relationship where she has a primary. The primary doesn't know she's pregnant. The primary doesn't know she's delivered. The primary doesn't know she's recovering. The primary knows nothing. Has the baby, gives it to the secret man. Probably finds secret man and whoever, or gives it to whoever for that matter. Maybe she doesn't give it to secret man. Maybe she just gives it to anybody, right? Give it to a family member, who knows? It's just not a typical scenario. Doesn't mean it's not possible. It's just not typical. And that seemed to be a very common response on the group page in regards to those who disagreed with the sentiment that female contribution to the family can be summed up in the simple fact that mothers could absolutely never have a secret secondary family. It didn't seem to be a difficult question in response for women that are in that page, that are on that post, that engage in that conversation. But certainly there were some men that seemed a little bit challenged by the thought. Are you with this, Q? Did you crack the code? Did you find the secret, the sweet spot to where we could stay with us today?
I'm on my phone. They
you know, the last couple weeks you totally had issues too.
They came on my street. They put in Google Fiber, supposedly putting in a new internet, and now my internet is not working right.
I'm telling you, they try to get you to switch over. They want to hire you. They try to get you on their #1 sales team.
No, they trying to just get my money. I don't like that at all. Put that post up really quick. Put that up.
Okay. All right. Were you able to hear me at least?
No, I was out.
I'm talking to myself. That's all right. That's all right. Okay, so go ahead.
I feel like the female contribution to the family could be so. I don't get that. What does that got to do with the female contribution to the family?
Oh man, and here goes the last 10 minutes I just spent talking.
Oh. The statement itself don't make sense to me. I'm confused.
It makes super sense to me.
Okay, please break it down for me really quick. I don't want you to go over everything. I know, really quickly, just really quick, and then I can catch what you're saying.
So looking at it, right? The sentiment being a mother. We're talking about a mother's role, right? The female contribution to the family can be summed up in the simple fact that mothers, the woman's contribution to the family, mothers could absolutely never have a secret second family. Any of the women in your family, could they pull off having a second secret family? Could they be who they are in their primary and also have a secondary secret family that they are equally able to tend to secretly while still taking care of their primary? Not to say it can't happen. I don't want to say
but how does that sum up the family contribution? Like, what are they saying about the family contribution?
Because that's what a mother contributes to the family in a capacity in which she could never pull off what men have been pulling off for centuries. Men can have tons of second, third, fourth secret families that women never find out about.
I got that. So what am I saying? What they saying there's a female's contribution to the family is their loyalty?
What is in your perspective? What do you think a mother is supposed to contribute to the family? What is a mother's job? What does she do for the family?
Nourishment, house management, stability. The woman or the wife or the mother sets the atmosphere of the home. She's for the earlier stages in a child's life, usually the primary educator, the primary example, the primary influence,
right,
in a child's life. She's what brings calmness to the husband, all of those things. She sets the tone of the home.
So assuming that she does do all of those things, right? And there's always going to be the exceptions to the rules, because there may be many mothers who do not bring some of these things to the family dynamic. But if you subscribe to, your typical roles, and we'll say in this case, mother and father, male and female, most women are going to contribute those things to the household. That doesn't mean that men can't. That doesn't mean that men don't. And that doesn't mean that men won't. That doesn't mean that men are incapable of. But if a woman does all of those things for the household, there isn't enough of her to be able to contribute to the family system of a second secret family. She can't be in too many places at one time. The debate being that that's what a mother brings to the family. However, the question is, the men for centuries that have had second secret families, and how easy it is for them to pull off being able to support their primary and also support their secret family for years and years and years, sometimes decades, of nobody ever knowing that dad had another family, and how common it is for that to take place. So it's an interesting dynamic when you think about, well, men can pull this off. How is that so? Women, not so much. Why not?
That's so. Before I even get to, well, let me say that is a gross overstatement. There are a small percentage, a very small percentage of men who can get away with that.
No, men been getting away with second families for centuries.
A very small percentage of
that you
men.
might know. That I think that's a gross
No,
that's underreported.
no, I think it stands out when you find out that someone had a second family. But for everyone who did have a second family, there were 20 men who didn't, because everybody ain't got that time, and everybody ain't got that financial ability to support two separate families.
Right.
And for everyone who was able to keep the two families, there are some who just ditched out and didn't take care of the one family that they should. I mean, there's so many variables, and just to put that out there like that is, I think that's an overstatement in my opinion. Now, I'm still confused about my confusion comes with how I guess the writer summed that up to a woman's contribution. Like, I listed off about a dozen things. How do you sum that up to the fact that she stays at home and she doesn't have a second family? What you said, and I ain't saying you, but what was said in that, speaking of a woman, I guess if they're speaking of her loyalty and how she's committed to that one family, that doesn't speak to all the things all the attributes that she adds to the family. I just don't know how that sums it up. The statement. That's why I keep saying the statement makes no sense to me. I don't get that.
And it makes complete sense to me. I don't know what part about that. So I guess that's the interesting part about where.
So okay, let me say it like this, Nikki. If what you said was, yeah, and I'm trying to get there. What if you said to sum this up, the woman's primary or main or most powerful value that they have is that they're not going to have a second family, and they tend to what's at their home. I would say that's good, but it's you leave a whole lot out. I can't sum up the role of a woman just by saying she's loyal and she stays at home.
Right. I just asked you what some of the things were, in your opinion, were right. What you felt like mothers brought to the family dynamic. And every person is probably going to have some different answers. Some of us may have some similar answers. But for the most part,
I just don't know how that sums it up.
Say that again?
I don't know how that sums it up.
How this statement sums up what a woman brings, what a mother brings to the family?
Yes, I don't get that at all.
Because she does so much for the family, whether it's emotionally, whether it's spiritually, whether it's physically. It may never be financially. She may not work outside of the home, right? So she, like you said, she's the manager of the house. She keeps everything under control. She keeps things running smoothly. It's like a well-oiled machine. So for her to be able to go ahead. For her to be able to dedicate to her primary all of those things, there isn't any more time, energy, emotion, and effort available for her to be able to try and do this again with the secret family over here. She can't.
Okay.
She can't. She can't be
Okay.
to your family and our family what she needs to be, and then also be over here taking care of her secret kids with her secret family. That means she got a secret man or a woman. She got some secret kids. That means they want time, attention, effort, energy, devotion, whatever it is that they're expecting over at the secret house. When the fuck is she gonna do that? When is she gonna have time to do that if she's over here at our house, taking care of our babies, feeding our kids, washing our clothes, picking the kids up from school? You know what I'm saying? How can she do that?
Okay.
But so the point of that being, at least this is the way I took it, was how interesting it is that men can pull off having second secret families, but women not so much. Is that because the kids are tethered to us? Are they tied to us? You know, and I'm not saying that that's actually the case. It's just interesting that men have second secret families, but it's real hard for a woman to pull that same sentiment off.
Okay, I got the context of what it's saying now.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a simplified way to put it. I mean, catching what it's saying, then I get what they're saying. It makes some sense.
Did you happen to see any of the comments on this particular post on the Facebook page?
No.
I'm gonna read a couple then.
Okay.
Because this is where it got a little interesting. Let me see. Let me throw on my glasses because I can't see. All right, so one of the comments, and it was interesting because it definitely seemed like there were not many men that understood what was being said here. It seemed kind of clear for the women, not so much for the fellas. All right, so one of the fellas replied, he said, it's kind of a weird loaded statement. If a woman has previous children that she doesn't have custody of, she can. We're not talking about women that don't have custody of their children. This is women who are taking care of a primary and a secondary. But yeah, hard to keep a pregnancy secret once you're showing. That's true. The whole idea of a secret family is extra. So it's going to be some weird circumstances either way. But I'm going to say false. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Oh, I thought of something, but go ahead.
Okay, so that was one. That was one comment. But again, it went back to the point of we're not talking about a woman who's had children and bailed on them. We're talking about a woman who is taking care of a primary and taking care of a secondary.
So, Nikki, before you go to the next comment,
okay,
the argument could be made historically over the course of time. There's been a lot of women who did have a second family, but it was disguised under the banner of "this is your child," and that second family, meaning that child by that other man, was still living and being taken care of by the main man.
And that was talked about in the post. That was actually something that Terry had commented. Terry said yes, they can. So Terry said yes, they can by having another man raise a child that isn't his, even though he was told otherwise. And I included that in the beginning of this conversation. She could have gotten pregnant by somebody else, lied to her primary, and has him thinking that this is their child. But somewhere in there, she's not taking care of a second secret family, because if nobody knows except her that she's lied about this pregnancy, nobody knows that it's not her primary man's child. Now, is she 10 shades of dirty for not telling him? Absolutely. But if nobody else knows about this, there's no secret family. There's no family. Her family
is you and that child that's not by that man who you told that was that man's child. That's a secret.
Nobody else knows but her.
Exactly. If nobody knows but her, then it's a secret.
So there's no second family she's tending to outside of her primary. Her primary is still, and maybe another man's
She's tending to two families in the same household.
But she doesn't have another. She's not going to somebody else's house taking care of them. She's not going over there doing the duty over there as a mom. Like,
right. So the argument is it's not being done in the same way as a man would do it. But there's been many situations where a woman did have technically 2 or 3 families within the same household, and sometimes they were a secret, and you ain't find out till the child was 18 and wasn't paying child support, until they got a divorce and like, oh, that wasn't your kid anyway, or somebody need a transplant or blood. Oh, you're not a match. your bone marrow is not a match. Oh, what do you mean?
That ain't your baby. That ain't your baby. And again, some dirty shit happens. I get it, you know. So I get it, right? I shouldn't always say dirty because all situations aren't that, right? I shouldn't think like that, but I shouldn't say that. But nonetheless, to me, if you're lying about who you got pregnant by, you done done some foul shit, right? Because this ain't supposed to be happening. So not to say that those things don't happen, because we know that they do. For me, though, that's not the same thing as a mother of me taking care of my household and then taking care of another household because I got secret kids over there. So that was one part that was one point that was posted. Jas was like, y'all know full well what the point of the statement was. She says a woman could not be the matriarch of a second family and keep it a secret because of how much responsibility they take in the primary household. Lies about paternity have nothing to do with this fact. Becca commented, the point wasn't missed. It was purposely misconstrued to fit the point they were trying to make. I don't think a woman could have a second secret family. As a matriarchal figure, it would be impossible to be that for two families simultaneously to keep under wraps. It's not doable. Some of us are super women, but we can't be in two places at one time. And I certainly don't want to act like this is just like a dog on men type of things. But it was just interesting that the men seemed to disagree with the sentiment, and the women, it was a very simple sentiment. Who says we're having two different conversations? You're talking about secret families, and Q is talking about lying about paternity. Well, so we're trying to get on the same level, right? Like we're trying to break down what the in between right. Words, right, on this post, right? So we're trying to get there, and this is essentially what was posted on the page is people's thoughts, and then really the women in here going back to the statements that it's about a secret second family. It's
and
not
I understand what we're saying different. I think my argument is in the way that we view the secret family. Could we look at this instance and call it something similar as well? So when I'm talking about women who do certain things or have children that they don't, could we also consider that to be a second family? Kind of like Tito was talking about. Hey, this is you're only looking at it from this angle, but if you looked at it from this other angle, it's possible that someone else could say the same thing about women, even though it doesn't present itself in the same way. Now, do I actually agree with that? Not exactly, but I'm nudging in a gray area, and what I guess the part I'm pushing back on is the black and whiteness of the statement that was made, and I'm arguing that there could be more gray in it than what, because the black and white part of what they're talking about, yeah, it would be very hard, almost impossible for a woman to have that second family in the same way men do. But if you view it from a different angle, that black and white line could be a little more gray. But I agree with what people are saying.
There's always lanes and areas for the blurry part, but I think that some things really aren't as blurry as we try to make them be, right? I
have an issue with the statement. The statement itself is weird to me.
How so? And I'm not challenging you. I'm just like, I just want to understand why it's weird
when it just comes to summing it up. Maybe the way the question or the statement is put out there, it just forces me to think about something different. When it says the female contribution, it just feels like the way that they're trying to sum it up is so limiting, because to me the female contribution is so much more than just even it's I get what's being said. It just seemed like it's they're trying to make it too simple. I have an issue with the way it's presented.
I think it is simple. I think it actually is really, really simple. And I thought it was really simple, right? So I thought it would be a good topic for discussion on there. And then when I read the replies especially from the men, no cap. Like when I read the replies, I was like, damn, man.
I'm trying to wrap my mind around it, but it's Yeah, that's just like people trying to simplify, or you can break poverty down into one simple phrase. Like, no, you can't. You could break racism down into one. No, there's a lot of layers to. I don't know. Maybe that's just the way I'm viewing now. I'm the statement is just hard for me to wrap my mind around it, even though I kind of caught the context of what they were saying.
Well,
But I think it would be. Let me say it like this. I think it's it just comes off as borderline disrespectful to women to me, to try to just simplify that much. Like, this is the role of the woman in the household, or this is what in one phrase can explain the role of a woman in the household.
see, and nothing about that quote felt disrespectful at all to me as a mother and as a woman. I felt like that quote was almost highlighting how valuable mothers are to the mother's contribution to the family, that she can't fucking have a secret family. She doesn't have enough in her after giving her primary all of what they need to be whatever it is that they are, that there isn't any more of her to be stretched. She can't. And again, it doesn't mean that there aren't exceptions to the rules. But I thought it was a tremendous high five to moms.
Let me give you an example like this.
Okay.
If someone was to say, let me sum up, I'm going to sum up Q in one phrase or one statement. Q is a great father and he takes care of his kids. I'm like, okay, thank you, number one, but that don't sum me up. That doesn't give the full of who I am. I am a good father and I do take care of my kids, but I'm so much more than that. So to try to define me in one statement that's incomplete, that's what I'm saying. Even a compliment can come off as disrespectful if it's not properly encompassing all that I am. I think that's the best way that I'm trying to say it.
I think even the statement that you just made about you being a good father, like, and taking care of your kids, like, I think even that was more, that was almost so direct that it was generic. Not untrue, but it was so direct that it was very generic, as opposed to, to me, this does not feel generic to me. We're not talking about a particular, she does this one thing or she does these two things. This sums up who she is. It's the fact that she does this for the family, so much so, this is her contribution to our family as the primary, that she can't give it to another family. Like, so that may almost be so simple, but super duper 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 vague and wide, but I feel like it encompasses so much more than the simplicity of you're a good dad and you take care of your kids. Like, that's pretty generic.
So some of what I think is like, or maybe, so it's like, some things are not, golly, how do I say this? It's like it can't, I don't know if that's necessarily a compliment. More so, oh shoot, I'm a battery going there. I don't even know if that's a compliment. I'm gonna get a charger in a second. I don't know if it's a compliment more than it is just you trying to compliment my lack of options. Like, okay, well, you saying a woman could absolutely never have a second family. Maybe could it also be that they don't have the options or the opportunity to have a second family? Like men, when they would go out and work 40, 50, 60 hours and they'd be out working and hunting and doing all this, it gave them more opportunity to have family. Well, I got to go on this work trip and blah, 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 blah. Some of that stuff, you just had more opportunity. So it's not even like, so even to compliment me sometimes is not necessarily a compliment. It could just show my lack of option. Oh, Q, he just stays with one woman. Okay. Maybe, but is that because I'm faithful and loyal, or is it because I know that 2 women or 3 or 4 women ain't gonna allow me to date them all at the same time? It's like, I don't. I'm just not
I mean,
sure if that's
but
the
you
best
could enter
compliment.
into a polygamous relationship, and then it would change the dynamic. It would be allowable for you to have multiple women in the
Okay, so
relationship.
Nikki, there's several men that I think would be more open to the ideal of a polygamous relationship if their wife or their girlfriend was open to it. But since they're not, then they'll be like, oh, well, it's going to be monogamy for me. Now, that doesn't mean that they're a good, wholesome, um, one woman man at heart. That just means they have a lack of options. So therefore, they're gonna stay with what is the better option for them. I'm just saying it's just not a necessary that statement doesn't necessarily make a woman a good woman because she doesn't have a second, or she can't afford, or she doesn't have the time to have a second family. That doesn't necessarily speak to your goodness. In the same ways I just pointed out, being loyal, faithful man doesn't speak to the heart of who you are necessarily either. It could also come from lack of options.
True, but a woman can still only have one baby every 9 months. I don't think that women have any lack of option any more than men have lack of option. I think if anybody wants to step out, they can step out. It's not hard to fucking step out if that's what you want to do. It's easier for a man to conceal a second family than it is for a woman to conceal a second family and be taking care of primary at the same time. And that's not to say that women are a better species of parent, or that men are a lesser species of parent. Like, it's not to say that, but and again, and I said,
but you don't feel like that statement alludes to that?
No, because I think that women bring their own tools to the family, just like men bring their tools to the family. And like I was just fixing to say, I say this all the time. I believe in gender roles. You don't have to, and that's fine. But I believe in gender roles. I believe there are certain things that a mother is supposed to do. There's certain things that a father is supposed to do. There's certain things a woman's supposed to do. There's certain things a man's supposed to do. Like, in the dynamic of a male and female relationship, you each have your fucking roles. Now, oftentimes, because as families do, and as humans, co-parent and live with each other, we compromise, and sometimes men do more of this and women do more of this, or I'm doing the yard work and he's doing the dishes. Not to say that roles can't intertwine with each other, that men can't do more of the women's stuff and women can't do more of the men's stuff, but traditionally men have a certain job in the family structure and women have a certain job in the family structure. So fathers have a certain job in the family structure, and so do mothers. Men are needed just as much as women are needed, but women just do a different job than men do. So much so that we can't have second families. We can't pull that shit off.
I get that. So again, is that? But you look at that as a compliment, though.
Like I said, I look at it as a high five to motherhood. To me, it's a high five. Okay. I feel like it's a high five because if I was a deceitful, non-attentive, disloyal, selfish mother, I could pull off maybe some of this secondary family bullshit, right?
But you can all the things that you just said.
I'm gonna hide a pregnancy and a delivery and a recovery, and like I'm gonna do all this shit, right?
But
like,
what I'm saying is, deceitful, lying, manipulative, cheating, you can still do all of that and be a one family woman.
Yes, absolutely. But we're talking about her being able to take care of two families at one time.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. So how was that necessarily a compliment? Okay, it's you don't have the time or the desire or the energy or the want to have two separate families. But I mean, you can still go out and cheat, mess around, and do whatever you want to. And
things are not exclusive.
I'm just saying. So I just don't. So when somebody says it like a compliment, I'm just not getting a compliment out of that. I don't get the compliment out of that.
I don't know. You're not the mom. You don't carry the babies. You don't grow the babies. You don't deliver the babies. You don't feed the babies with your titties. You know what I'm saying? Not to say that you don't pass the bottle over. Not to say that you don't get up, 50 times in the middle of the night to feed the baby and change the baby. Not to say that you don't take over some of those things for her when she needs your help, but if we take away formula, you can't feed that baby.
I get. Okay.
So
I mean, I guess as far as I can get,
maybe it's not a compliment to some, but for me, it was a high five to motherhood. Yeah, you could still be a monogamous woman and be raggedy as hell, right? But like, those things are not. That's not exclusive to me.
Or I mean, you could be raggedy and ratchet and still take care of your house.
Yes, you can. Sure.
So on the flip side, so okay, dang, let's go here. So the man who's taking care of 2 families, definitely raggedy, but is it still somewhat admirable that he's taking care of 2 families versus leaving children to be bastards and not,
it is. It's fucked up, but yes, it's admirable. As is the post that we can talk about that one too, about the chick with the 2 babies, the baby daddies, the baby shower.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Yeah, it's fucked up, and it's unfair to the children at the end of the day, right? Because these kids don't know each other. These kids don't know that they have a sibling. Like it is, you live in a small town, like you're from a small town. It's dangerous to have a dad that's got kids all over town, and you don't know when they could potentially be your damn boyfriend or girlfriend one day because nobody told you. So, but yes, I do think it's admirable for him to not just fucking bail on his mistake. And I don't want to say the kid's a mistake, but obviously you're getting another woman pregnant while you have a committed relationship and a primary family. Like, yeah, that's some bullshit. So right. Yes, it is admirable that he stays and he raises those kids, but there's never not going to be pain associated when that truth comes out. And the kids are always going to be the ones that are going to carry the burden for the decisions of their parents. Who is this? It says, well, I'm over here taking care of other women besides me and my kid. Wait. Well, I'm over here taking care of other women because me and my wife's kids, which means some women ain't shit.
Hold on, say that again.
Let me read it again. It says, well, I'm over here taking care of other women because me and my wife's kids, which means some women. So he's taking care of another woman's kids because his kids ain't shit. Well, there's a lot of ain't shit women out here, but that ain't got nothing to do with race. And that has nothing to do with your primary and your secondary. It's a lot of terrible parents out here. Hell, it's part of the reason why we in the boat that we in is because there's a lot of people who have not been parented and unparented parents raising children. So, I mean, yeah, raggedy is raggedy, right? Bad decisions is bad decisions.
Okay. I mean, I get the sentiment to some degree.
Yeah. It was a good conversation, though. It is
good conversation. I just don't know if, yeah, whatever. I got it out. I said what it was.
All right. So we'll switch topics. We'll move on to something now since nobody else has joined us. What did you have? What was one of the ones you wanted to pull up?
I don't know. I don't have my whatchamacallit on. I'm trying to conserve all my bandwidth so my internet don't freeze up on me.
All right.
But I did. What was the one I was interested in? The one with the one you mentioned with the two.
The 2 dudes and the chick.
The 2 dudes, and then they was having, what was it like?
They was a threesome.
Okay, but the party, they was like at a party.
Shower.
They was at a baby shower.
There was her baby shower.
Right.
So girl had a threesome with 2 men. She got pregnant. She didn't know who the baby father was because she had sex with both men during the threesome. And maybe she had some with them after, who knows? But nonetheless, she got pregnant.
Right.
By allegedly one of these 2 men. So there's a video, and I've seen it going around a couple times. Koo posted it on the Facebook page a couple days ago. And he was like, hell no. But so there's a video of the girl and the 2 potential baby daddies at the baby shower. And they're all just rubbing the belly and love and happy and taking pictures. Right. And like, it's a great moment. It's a great moment. And people were hell bent that that's just the most disrespectful, raggediest, like that's bullshit. Like, what?
Right.
Is it conventional? Maybe not. Women get pregnant every day. And every day they don't know who they got pregnant by. Like it happens, right? If you have sex with more than one person in a 30-day period of time and you get pregnant, shit, it's gonna be hard trying to figure out who that baby daddy is. So it's not a new phenomenon of women getting pregnant and not knowing who the father of the baby is. This was
and not only that.
Huh?
Not only that, let's go back to when we had the conversation, doing wrong the right way, or
doing wrong the right way. This is one of those scenarios where you've totally done wrong the right way.
So yeah, if that's not the route that you I think if you're going to engage in that type of activity, you should be a responsible adult.
For sure.
And on top of that, obviously y'all wanted to go raw all throughout. So again, you should also understand that there's other potential consequences that could come along with that. So don't try to do some grown man, grown woman type stuff, and then when the real stuff comes, then you act like an immature child again. That's a problem. And so what you gonna do? Oh, it ain't mine. How you know it ain't yours? It ain't mine. Y'all was having fun a little while ago.
Right. Did you not shoot up the club? Then it might be yours. You cannot say it's not.
And not only that, if y'all enjoyed each other's company, and maybe they seemed like they was all cool.
They all were like, they had a great vibe. I was like, damn, for what it's worth, I ain't mad at them.
Y'all was cool when y'all was having a threesome, right?
Hello, 2 dudes and a chick, and nobody had protection. Like, come on, y'all was real with it.
So don't not be cool. Oh shoot, I got 5%. Let me see if my thing worked real quick. Hold on.
And that was the whole point. That was the whole point, Q, is people were like, this is the raggediest thing. Like, why she got these 2 dudes here? Like, oh, that's horrible. That's so embarrassing. Like, get out your feelings. This girl and these 2 dudes agreed to have a threesome. Only body embarrassed is your ass for some reason. She's not embarrassed. They're not embarrassed. They were all there doing each other at the same time. Ain't nobody embarrassed. The shit's already out, right? So the fact that she got pregnant, didn't know who it was from, had a baby shower, invited both of the dads with, they got there, will look like a great time on video. The pictures look wonderful. They're both rubbing on her belly at the same time. They're taking like a 3-way group photo of the 3 of them in the pregnant belly. Is it what I would hope my baby shower looks like? No. But I totally applaud those fellas for showing up. They could have went the alternative route and been pissed off and fought each other and shot each other and beat her up or drug her through hot coals during their 9 months, the 9 months of pregnancy. Oh, you bitch, you did it. Like, and not to say that maybe those things didn't happen, but the energy in those videos, they were fucking cool. They were cool. They were here to support her, support this baby. Looked like both of them probably would have been happy if the baby came and it was theirs. It was one of theirs. Now, of course, maybe they'll be happy when they find out whoever ain't the baby daddy is not the baby daddy.
Right. And that's the thing. Can you hear me? I don't know if
yes.
my mic.
Yeah, you're good.
Like my mic working, or is there something else working?
No, you're good.
Okay. And that's just I don't know. Just like, how would you try to dog someone that so listen, whatever's going to happen, it's going to, you'll find out when it's time to find out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe you're going to be the daddy, or maybe maybe they just might make you the godfather, so whatever the case is. But
at least they came. They could have been all bitter and could have been all butthurt, be like, oh, I'm not coming up. Like, no.
Why?
They
but
both
why wouldn't you come though?
And knew that this was a possibility. Girl got pregnant and they showed up to support.
See, in my opinion, that would be some whole shit to me for you not to, we all participated together.
Agree.
And now she pregnant and everybody want to keep their distance.
Right. Now she's a hoe.
No, yeah. And when I say
hoes, I was all hoes that night.
Anytime you hear me talk about hoes, I'm usually talking about dudes. You a hoe for that.
Right.
And I mean it's a different context. It's like,
right.
and it just, That's the example of men who have that mindset. Number one, you shouldn't even engage in that activity because you're not matured enough to deal with the consequences that may come with it. And then it goes back. See, now this is the most unconventional example of when they say what it takes a village. But
she got a little village.
But be responsible for your circle and your surroundings.
Right.
If y'all enjoyed each other, maybe they might enjoy each other again in the future. Who knows?
Who's not to say that this kid, who's to say that they might not grow on to be like a beautiful polygamous family, raise their children with so much fucking love and openness and kindness, and like it was a little bit mind-boggling to me to see, because I didn't just see it on our page, I saw it elsewhere during the week, and people were just dogging her out or dogging the dudes out, and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, if you don't want to have a threesome, then don't have one, right? If you don't want to get pregnant by two men and not know who it is, then don't do that. But the fact that these young men showed up for a baby shower, unsure if the baby's there or not, for the chick that they both had sex with, like,
right?
You fucking get them. You get a high five. We got mom high fives. Now we got baby daddy high fives.
I think it's a beautiful thing.
I agree. And it's funny because when you said something, I was like, holy shit, we agree on this. I was like, and I think you and I were the only ones that really thought that it was like not that big of a deal for both of these men to show up for this baby shower.
That's a lot of people's initial knee-jerk reaction to just the whole situation. So think about this again. So if you're one of those people who, because there are a lot of men who are not going to have the 2-man and a woman threesome, or what we call a train or whatever. If that's not you, then I get that. I get it.
Right.
But for anyone who's willing to engage in that type of threesome, then why would you be ashamed of it? Why would you be put off by it? Like, if I engaged in it, why would I shun the young woman after I was a willing participant?
So that goes back to your statement. That goes back to your statement about be some hoe ass shit. It would be some hoe shit. There would be some. That's where you would.
And that's why I said it, because you weren't acting like that when you were trying to get some.
Right.
You wasn't standoffish with the dude when y'all was both in there butt naked.
Hello, got y'all things touching each other.
See, that's
now you want to be mad.
Visual, Nikki, you didn't went to.
I'm just saying. I've seen videos. I've seen movies, right? Like, I see how this shit works. But to somebody's point, because I don't know who this is. This is Facebook user. It says, I can't imagine trying to explain these baby shower pics to the child later. I agree, it's good that they were all adults and then the outcome of their choices, but like, so would it just be simple to say, I mean, you could tell the fucking truth, right? But how would you tell a kid? How would you explain these to the child later? How do you? I'm curious. How would you explain those to a child later?
This is the thing. It's you explain it to the child when they're at the age
where they can understand the conversation. Right.
So this is not something that you need to explain to a 5-year-old, but depending on who you are, maybe you can extremely simplify the situation if both people are in their life. Yeah, I saw that. You can simply explain something when they're 5 years old. Then you can be a little bit more elaborate when they're 10. And then when they 12, 13, then you can kind of go into more detail about what that situation looked like. So when people, well, I don't know how to explain it to a child. Well, that part don't need to be explained to a child.
Right. Not till they're ready.
Right.
But I think it's very important to be honest, period. And this is where you could have an amazing life lesson with your child when they become age appropriate. That, because I'm just going to assume here that, let's say this, this woman stays free spirited, right? I'm just going to call her free spirited.
Mm-hmm.
She may not raise her child in a home where things that non-free spirited people put upon their children, she might not raise her children with those same parameters. So by the time her kid turns 13, 15 years old and gets a hold of these old baby pictures with his two daddies, and like, wait a minute, that's Uncle so-and-so, and oh, wait a minute, she may be able, they may have the foundation in their family where you're able to have this conversation.
Right.
And I'm a huge advocate of teaching your children right from your wrongs.
Right.
Meaning, just because I had a kid at 17, I'm going to tell you 8 million different reasons and scenarios and preventative things to prevent my kid from having a kid at 17 years old. The shit I didn't know.
Right.
I did everything in my power to try to instill that in my child. Was there a part of me that was embarrassed I was 17 and pregnant? Of course, because that's not what society says you're supposed to do. But
right.
It was what it was. I chose to have this child. There wasn't an option for me. I wasn't going to utilize another option. So I have to power through this. So then when she turns 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and she's got boyfriends, I'm not going to not have this conversation. We have to have this conversation. So you take sometimes what may be your bad moments, what may be your embarrassing moments, what may be your less proud moments as a parent, and you use those as lessons to teach your children.
Absolutely.
So there's so many ways that could have been used in a way where it might be an uncomfortable conversation, but that might also only be uncomfortable for people who are not comfortable having conversations about sex.
Right.
Some people are very okay with that conversation.
Not just that. There's probably a point in time where I'm going to have to go into a moderate level of detail.
Right.
Explaining my divorce to my children.
Right.
They have basic questions now, which they don't really know what to ask.
Right.
But at a certain point in time, they will understand what to ask, and they're gonna be like, okay, so what happened?
Yeah.
And then I'll break it down to them, you know.
And like I said, you do it in pieces. Trust.
Right. And
even though they might not realize what's happening at the moment that you're doing it, when they get older, they're going to respect the shit out of you and trust you because you told me the truth. You could have lied to me. I never would have found out differently.
Right.
But you told me the truth. You made yourself vulnerable. Like you acknowledged wrongs. You righted them. Like whatever the case may be, like you tell your kids the truth. And that's one thing I'm definitely grateful my parents did not do is shield me from the truth and the reality of who people are.
Right.
It could be a great teaching tool. To this point, this is kind of funny. Would you buy anything for the baby shower before the paternity test? Of course.
Yes.
Of course.
You know what? You know what I really think it is? I think a lot of people who posted on this, meme or video, it is really, I believe a lot of people are speaking or commenting out of their own insecurities or of how they would feel embarrassed if it was them in that situation.
Absolutely. Projection. A little bit of projection.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's what I think.
I agree.
See? And listen, hey, I am working on being a free thinker over here. So you just can't say oh no, that's gross. Why?
Right.
Why? You got to give me some reason behind that, some reason and ration. Otherwise, it's
right.
Like, yeah.
No, I loved it. I applauded it. I thought it was great that they showed up. They were supportive. The alternative could have been they both acted like some brats and they didn't show up. And girl had no men there to support her.
Right.
No potential baby there. And so then she got no pictures. She's just a single ass mom, pregnant, young, looking like the stereotype, right? Like no, now she's got these two dudes that are there, and they were in great spirits. It was great spirit. So I like it.
It's important to bring a child in a spirit of love.
Right. Can you imagine if the dudes were at each other's necks, the contention that her pregnancy would consist of?
They at their necks, they over there giving her the third degree, they isolating and disappearing, and now you doing it. It's a whole difference when you have support.
Hell yeah. Absolutely. And it might not be your ideal, it might not be what you want to do in your family, but it ain't your family. No. Then don't have a threesome unprotected and you won't have that problem.
Right. So I don't want to hear listen, and that's why all these people come in. I bet not hear nothing about you won't have no threesome. You're not worthy for a threesome.
You can't handle the outcome.
No,
You can't handle the outcome. You're not ready. It sounds good, but you're not ready. Not ready. Because the minute this starts happening, you finna jump up out of there.
So yeah, that's now this is my question. Ooh, I just thought about this. Would I have had that same response 10 years ago?
Ooh.
Would you have had that same response 10 years ago, Nikki?
I think I would have. I might have been a little more. I might have been a little more judgy because I kind of do that when I come across women who don't know who they're pregnant by. And I'm sorry if that's you. Like, you literally can only get pregnant so many days out of a month. There's only a few days out of a month you get pregnant by. So if you have sex with that many men unprotected in this short window of time, we have issues, Ma. Like, there's literally, so we have some issues we got to uncover, right? You ain't got to do shit, but I'm just saying there's some underlying issues, right? So I may have been a little more judgy because it's a woman who didn't know who she got pregnant by. But when I heard that it was in the commission of a threesome, I think I would have had the same response. I think I would have the same response.
So 15 years ago, I would have had a completely different response.
Would you?
Oh, absolutely. I would have been like, oh, heck no, that's just terrible. Why would you? I would never, blah, 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 blah. Now,
interesting.
10 years ago, I don't think I would have had a negative response, but I would not have voiced a positive response.
Why would you not voice the positive response?
Like I said, like we talked about, probably projecting how I would be viewed, or maybe be embarrassed by a situation like that, and be like, "Oh yeah, you should." It'd be that's probably that. 10 years ago, I'm like, stay away from that.
But would you have felt that her having both men there and both of those men, agreeing to be there in the spirit in which they were, would you have thought that was a bad thing?
I probably would have been like,
not me.
You probably shouldn't. Just don't have no baby shower right now. You just wait till you figure it out.
Wait till the baby's born.
Right, exactly. You need to get some more answers first before you try to have some babies.
That's so interesting.
That's, if I could think 10, that's probably would have been my response.
Okay. Oh, I'll be curious to see how your mind changes in another 10 years. Then. If this is the work for you, what's gonna happen when Q hit 50?
I know. And you know what? That's I do wonder, like, because every time when I guess there's a certain part of yourself that feels like whatever state that you're in, you feel like you've arrived to some degree.
Right.
But then you got to think like, okay, I'll definitely think different 20 years ago than I thought 15 years ago, than 10 years, than I think now. So why would I and I have these conversations and arguments with people all the time. Why would you think now that you've just arrived and there's not going to be any further changes in how you think and view things?
Right.
When the pattern shows that you won't think the same as, if you can't go any 10-year period and say, oh yeah, I view things the same, this and this and that. Now, if you have viewed everything exactly the same for the last 10, 30 years, and okay, well, it's safe to assume you probably still gonna think that way. Maybe you're just not as flexible, or you're solid in your convictions, however you want to look at it. But if you have consistently changed, then it's also safe to assume that you will change more. So then I do wonder, in what ways will I change, or where will my evolution go 10 years from now? That might be a whole show of its own. I'm curious about that. Like, I think we did that before.
Do you feel like there are areas where you still are like in that process where you're trying to become more out of the box, like, or do you feel like you pretty much ripped all the fucking walls off of all the boxes, and you're just outside the box all the time now.
I think and that's what I'm curious, but I feel
Keep
like I've
talking. I'm gonna grab my
opened
charger real quick.
all the boxes. I need to get my
Okay.
charger too. I just because even things that I'm unsure of or even partially uncomfortable with, I'm still open to the possibilities of everything.
Okay.
So even like, I don't know what I could possibly be surprised about, or what, because I'd have to look like what is something that's really a block for me that I'd have to open up later.
Do you feel like, and we'll just use this as the topic,
because I'm open to poly, I'm open to,
and you weren't before,
not me personally,
right?
But just the concept of a family
acceptance
structure. I'm open to, and I think that's probably still more of a block to me, but I'm open to same-sex relationships,
right?
Like, as far let me say it like this: I believe people when they say they are attracted or they love the same sex.
Okay.
I don't think, oh yeah, you suffer from a disease and you sick in the head and you just need to be fixed from it. No, I believe that's really what you love.
Right.
So with whether like, okay, forgive me, but certain things that, like, I love Scandal. I love Empire.
Okay.
I love Power.
Do you really?
Oh, yes.
All right.
And even with that being said, like, seeing two men tongue each other, and I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I'm gonna get used
that's
to that.
not gonna work for me.
I don't know if I'm gonna get used to that. So it's not.
I don't think so.
So I don't know. Like, maybe there is an element, even though I accept it, internally there's still an element of to me. Now, two women kissing don't bother me at all, but I don't know. But
right. So, and that doesn't mean that you don't think the two men who are kissing, shouldn't be able to get married, blah blah blah.
But it can come off as a contradiction.
Everybody just has a preference. Like,
right. It still comes off as a contradiction. I think it could be a contradiction to be like, oh yeah, I'm good with this. I'm okay with that. Oh, don't do that in front. Or, even if I don't verbally say that, then I was like, okay.
I mean, I'm not going to break out in, hives if there's two men kissing in front of me or two women kissing in front of me. But, it's just, I guess that whole conversation has also made me dig real deep into the reality of any sexualization of children, because we've obviously normalized heterosexual stuff in front of children, but in reality, should we have to, and to what extent, right? Like, I think it's totally normal and social for children to see their mom and dad hugging and being cuddly and loving on each other and patting each other on the butt and doing all the things, right? But that's not to say that two same-sex couples shouldn't be. That's not to say that two same-sex couples can't have the same love. So is it being hypocritical to be socially acceptable of the heterosexual couple, but not the homosexual couple, the same-sex couple, as opposed to just not sexualizing children at all? Like, why do we have to sexualize children at all, outside of obviously the family love dynamic?
So even things that I'm uncomfortable with, I still have a certain level of openness to it. And I think the most recent thing is, and I don't think I ever, even, going back to the gay agenda on television.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I got to a place to where it didn't bother me, the agenda bothered me. When I feel like there's things purposefully being pushed. And to some degree, I don't even want to limit it to, when I feel like if I feel like you purposely trying to make my kids gay, then it's like, oh, well, y'all doing this on purpose. You just want the whole world to be gay. Now, as I'm starting to evolve, it's not even about that so much. It's just about the necessity of representation.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and if this is real, if this is the real life for a lot of people in society, and they want to have representation, they don't want people to look at them like they're gross when
Right.
they're walking down the street holding hands.
Right.
I understand the
Right.
value of representation.
Right.
Now I may have I may fight internally somewhat when there's when I feel like there's like an agenda to the point of imbalance.
Right.
But on the baseline, I do understand representation, you know. So even
For
that,
sure.
even a lot of those things that make me uncomfortable, I understand certain elements of it.
Agree. And I think that there is a fine line that does have to be walked in that, because, and I guess maybe that is the issue that a lot of us are, or the people are taking right now with the agenda, that it feels like it's way beyond inclusion. And I think a majority of people do want there to be inclusion, right? But like, I was looking at something this morning, and now, you know, I got online just to kind of look and make sure that like what I read wasn't just bullshit and it was actually happening. With the exception to going to Target today, which I haven't done, to go look at their clothing section to see what their Pride section looks like. Apparently, they have a whole Pride clothing section, and they have what they call the swimsuits. They're God, the word is tuck. It's I can't think of what they call it now. If you know what I'm talking about, put in the comments. They basically are making the crotches in women's swimsuits larger for men who are tucking, basically. And so I was like, damn, we've been trying to get bigger draws for the longest, right? We've been trying to get, you know, we've been trying to get our shit adjusted to fit our kitty parts, and we can't get no kind of extra material down in that part of our bottoms. But you know, a man with a penis want to wear a swimsuit, a bikini, and now he got extra room in his swimsuit to be able to tuck his shit and wear a bikini. That's fine. I'm all about it if that's what you want to do. But the email that was going around this morning, or the post that was going around this morning, was basically that this was being advertised in the children's swimwear section.
Right.
And that seemed to not be true. It is in the adult swimwear section at Target, but of course they make like extra smalls for a bigger kid to fit if they really needed to, right? So on one hand, yes, I think inclusion is important, but on the second hand, on the flip side to that, if you inundate a child with so much imagery, this is why I have an issue with television and music, and I do think that both of them are weaponized. You are planting seeds, and anybody who thinks that those things do not come with agenda is sadly mistaken. You are actually kind of part of the problem of us being able to have this fine line between inclusion and agenda.
Right.
And there's a big difference between those two.
And that's the thing. That's the downside of the LGBTQIA community, because when you make yourself that inclusive for all, you get a whole lot of different agendas on that same boat, and sometimes it gets hard to so what I mean by that is you can promoting same gender love is totally different from over sexualization, especially when you're talking about small kids. See, it's two different agendas, and they riding on the same. So think about that. Our society has pretty much always condoned and supported heterosexual love and the marriage and the family.
Right. Never a question about that.
And the dog, you know, the dog and the 2.5 kids and all that stuff. That's all. To Leave It to Beaver. Every sitcom you had was a family-oriented men heterosexual relationship dynamic. But even with that it was a promotion of heterosexual love, family, marriage, but there was not promotions of sex. you barely saw the man and the woman kiss each other on the cheek. They
Right.
it didn't have to be raunchy. So a lot of stuff that they're doing now is two different things. If you trying to support same-sex love is not the same as being supportive of sexualization of, and that's one of the things that I think Stacey Shea posted that maybe a week ago. It was a little 13 or 15-year-old boy dancing. He was doing some type of dance like on stage, and everybody
Yes,
was.
I think they call it. Well, yes. He was doing like the extreme death drop drag dance.
Right.
13-year-old boy.
And so that's a freedom of expression is one thing, but then over sexualization of these young children, that's something different.
And cute to bring up that video, because I don't think that it is viewable anymore. Whoever posted it has taken it down. Like the one that Stacey posted is still there, but it says content unavailable. And so we're talking about a 13-year-old little boy who was in a totally sequenced cocktail dress, basically, and like big old heels. And he did have shorts on underneath the dress, though, and he was popping his shit everywhere. Nobody was seeing his privates, but he was very much dressed like a female entertainer.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. Again, fine, right? Whatever works in your house works in your house, right? But the statement was shared many a times. What if that was a 13-year-old girl on stage dancing in the same exact manner for a crowd full of adults? We would probably, most of us, lose our fucking mind. So how is it that we're allowing this for gay boys or trans boys, but we're pissed off if it was little girls? So now we're literally like blurring the lines in a lot of places where when it comes to children, that shit needs to be defined. I think some things are not allowable to have blurred lines. And anytime you are
that's why
go
they
ahead.
get it. That's why they get it 13, 14. They it's the blurred lines. It's not a child, but they're not an adult, and they're not and they slowly push the limits, push the limits. And see, this is my other thing. This was my other observation that I even wrote on there. I think it's our society is so hypocritical because we downplay certain things in society like that.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, it's no big deal, and we'll allow that to where somebody can, be halfway naked, dress provocative at ages that they you ain't even got to go to the age part of it. You can overly dress and dance and behave provocatively, wear little or less than nothing, and that be celebrated or encouraged. But then don't tell somebody that they look nice. Or like our conversation gets muted, or it's over. Like you can get called out for harassment or something else if you just say certain things.
Right.
It's like, I'm not saying that you should or shouldn't, but I'm like, it's two different extremes here.
Mm-hmm.
How do we, if we're so appalled by speech, how are we so numbed by actions and over sexualization? And like it's mixed signals, and it's hypocritical to me.
Well, the first thing I thought of when you were talking was how we've got the 13-year-old boy, because he is a fucking child. I don't care what anybody wants to call this kid. This is a child. You got a 13-year-old kid, so that makes him 7th grade. 7th, maybe 8th grade. Dressed like a female, wearing a dress, wearing heels, dancing all over the stage for adults, right? And people may not like it because they don't support transgender stuff. People may not like it because they don't support gay stuff. People may, so there's a million reasons why we know people don't like it. And then at the same time, there's also a post on the Freethinkers page of the mom. I don't know if you saw this yet. The mom who showed up at her son's like kindergarten graduation, and she's got on like a swimsuit top of a top, like literally it's just on there to cover her boobs, and she's got on booty ass shorts, but they're like unzipped. They're unzipped and like folded over at the top. So I mean, she basically has a swimsuit on, just the bottoms are a little bigger than a swimsuit bottoms, right? And so people, of course, are talking about how she's inappropriate and what about the other kids and da 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 da. And it's like we are constantly being bombarded with imagery. And I think some of that stuff does desensitize us, and it certainly desensitizes our children. And yes, inclusion is important, but at what point are we taking away and this I guess is subject to society, what's appropriate versus what's not appropriate? Because I don't think it's appropriate for a 13-year-old to be dancing around provocatively around any fucking adult. I don't care if you're gay, right, trans, straight, boy, girl, doesn't matter. And I don't think it's appropriate for this girl to be half-ass naked at the school for the graduation ceremony. Yeah, it's fantastic that she's there. That's the most important part. But we're so inundated with imagery that it's like things that may not have necessarily been appropriate, sexually inappropriate, sexually risque, sexually stimulating, whatever, has just become the norm. And if you speak out against it, then you must be a hater, or you must be insecure, or you're phobic of some sort.
Oh yeah.
There's it's okay to have parameters in society when it comes to like healthy things transpiring from those examples. I don't know, maybe we should just all be naked all the time, and then we don't have a problem about skin and body and boobs and penises and vaginas and butts. But that's not the reality of America anyways. That's not the reality of our society. Maybe other countries is totally realistic.
So my church people, my good old Kojic apostolic church people would say, that's where, well, they will call the Holy Spirit, but just, you call it the Spirit of God that dwells inside of you. That's where it's important, because if you just take something at face value, then you can always say, well, if this is okay, then this is okay. And if this is okay, then this is okay. And this is all our society is doing. Well, if this is okay, how come this ain't okay?
Right.
And there's no real discernment to say, yeah, well, just because this is okay in this setting, that don't make this okay, even though it's right next door to this.
Right.
You got to have that discernment in there. And this society doesn't operate like that. It's just like, well, if it's okay, then it's got to be okay too.
If they do it, then I can do it.
If I wear a swimsuit to the pool, then how come I can't wear it to my son's graduation?
Right.
And that's the ration that people are like, yeah, you need you need some God brain in you that can kind of decipher, but we just don't have that. And that's why every agenda will always get hijacked. Like
right.
said, the agenda gonna get hijacked, because no matter what your reason for something, you can have good intentions on why something should be changed or modified or adjusted. It's going to be somebody else next to you that got a different agenda. And they're going to use what you do and ride off of those coattails to take it somewhere else. You know what? Do women need to be covered up from head to toe where you can't see nothing but their eyes, and then they get beat in the street if they showing their kneecaps? No, they shouldn't. Not at all. Yeah, someone, well, they should be able to wear what they want. Yeah, it's hot in Texas. You should be able to wear shorts. Yes, you should.
Right.
You should be able to, should you go to jail for having? No, you shouldn't.
Right.
But then somebody is going to take those needed freedoms that needed to happen. They'll take it, yeah. Well, yeah, my daughter should be able to walk around like, my son should be able to walk around like this too. And then they, freedom of expression, that goes to key. If I want my son to not wear any clothes in public, then he should be able to do. It's always going to be someone. And just like I was reading on that, like even for a short period of time, there was I forgot what it's called. I was scared they're gonna block me, but it was actually an organization of young gender something where there was a whole organization of people trying to promote love of kids.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a real thing. And
I
they
think it was
actually had,
Mambla. I think is what they call it, Mambla. I think is what
so.
that is.
And I looked into that, and it was a whole agenda. And you had different artists and somebody, and like some of these people that were part of these movements, and they jumped onto. It's like, dang, really?
North American Man Boy Love Association, Mambla. Yeah, that's who it was.
And they were pushing it.
Yep. Well, you know, now they don't even so talking
they still
about
push it. They just don't use that once they get exposed. Then they like, hey, let's hide under the LGBTQI
and who's gonna challenge you? Because God forbid you get challenged, you get canceled. And if you're a business, if you're a corporation, if you're an entity, if you are a brand, you will be canceled and you will be called homophobic or transphobic.
But and it's always when we talked about how far is too far, so who came up with the idea of allowing children to change their gender? You starting to give kids medicine,
right?
Allowing them to have a sex change,
right?
And there's a small portion inside of that. That's what I said. Movements always get hijacked. And they say, oh, well, if we don't want kids to feel left out, and they might be confused when we want them to be free to be, and they use all the right language. Because when I was a child, I always knew I was like this, and I knew that you knowing you gay and you feeling that you need to change your genitalia could be two totally different things.
Right. There's a lot of gay people that have never changed their genitalia
and don't want to.
They're still gay. Yeah, they don't want to. Totally fine.
But you have to be careful with. There's people that have those agendas, and once they can push it that far, okay. That's how subtle it is. Okay, now we're going to give the child, supposedly, we're going to give the child the right if they want to get a sex change. Now, once a child has the right to choose if they should keep their genitalia, change it, whatever like that, what else do they have the right? The child should also have the right to decide if they want to date an adult. See, that's how subtle it is.
Well, they're already trying to squeeze that in there. They're already trying to hit. They're already trying to hitch that onto the wagon. That's what they're definitely trying to do.
It's always ground. If we can establish that this child has the right to do this, then we can also establish that the child has the right to do this too.
And let me tell you how they are effectively programming that into people. And you may already know this, of course, but there are therapists who generally are LGBTQ type of therapists who, instead of referring to people as pedophiles now, because you are literally that, you are a pedophile. Instead of calling them pedophiles anymore, because that's an offensive word.
Kids.
Minor attracted persons. They call them minor attracted persons. So you've made being a predator. You've given being a predator a lane to also act like a victim, to play the victim. And that's not to say that people who are pedophiles weren't victims, because as we know, a lot of them were.
You were once a victim.
They usually were. But you don't get to lighten up the word pedophile by saying you're a minor attracted person. What in the fuck is that? That's totally dumbing down, desensitizing, and normalizing the fact that, oh, I have an illness and I'm just attracted to minors. It sounds better than being called a pedophile or being called a sex offender. When did we give such exceptions to some of the greatest predators on the fucking planet? Those that prey upon children. And the very beginning of this conversation about, there's just the world of things becoming trans and transgender. I never not felt like there was an agenda. I've always agreed that there was an agenda. But I think because my spirit also looked at it as an inclusionary movement of love, because I do consider myself to be an ally. And because in my mind, being a pedophile is, again, one of the most disgusting things that a person can be. I'm sorry, even if you were preyed upon as a child, it's still, you know that it's inherently wrong to do. To be a pedophile, like, there just could have been no possible way that the movement of the LGBTQ inclusion, movement here could possibly be hijacked by pedophiles and child predators. But today, I feel like that's who's doing most of the fucking talking, is those that don't have the spirit of inclusion in them, and they're grooming instead.
Right.
They're grooming children. They're trying to make being a minor attracted person just no big deal. It's no big deal. It's no big deal. And it's kind of like what you've said many times. Once you start letting stuff in, the door's wide open.
Oh yeah, it's open.
You can't even close it.
It's only gonna get worse.
Okay, it cannot be closed.
That's what I keep saying. I'm glad that to a certain extent half of my life is over already. So by the time it really get bad, I'll be on my way out of here.
No vulgarity on it today.
So,
yeah, definitely done it.
Yeah,
well, and to whoever's point that just posted that, because again, we can't see who's posting. They call it programming for a reason. Anything that comes out of that tube is programming. It's all programming, whether we like it or not. It is programming coming up out of that television. So the imagery, the sounds, kind of goes back into speaking about music being weaponized, which we've talked about before. All of those things, they're all intentional images, they're all intentional sounds, they're all intentional colors, they're all intentionally placed in ways where your eyes and your brain respond to things in a certain way. Like, all of this is a scientific, psychological experiment done through the devices of social media, mobile devices, television, movie, and they're winning. They're fucking winning. They're winning, and with us as at the expense, I feel like. You don't think they're winning?
No. I absolutely do.
Okay.
That's I don't even have time to go into that. That's a whole different conversation that we may or may not touch one day. The reason I do that is because despite the messed up stuff with religion, if you believe in prophecy, it speaks of so much of this stuff, and it's like it tells you these things are gonna happen. And I'm like, okay, so yeah, a lot of religion sucks and is manipulative, this and this and that, but there are certain elements of it that if you pay attention, it's hard to deny that there's certain parts of it that is true for a reason.
Right.
So
I give it that.
Maybe instead of just throwing all of it away, then let's throw away a lot of parts of it and then examine the other parts that seem to
be true,
know something that we don't know.
Right. So they keep manifesting themselves somehow over the generations and the decades and the centuries. I'll give it that.
And that I even take that into what church or spirit, this person a witch, or this person or this, or this person or that. And certain things like, well, some of these people, they know something.
Right. They got a little something.
So how you don't, even though you don't subscribe to that power or that access, it comes from somewhere, and it's I wouldn't totally dismiss it. Maybe that's something that you should look into a little bit more.
I saw somebody post something recently. I don't even know what it was about, but the comment was that they don't believe in that black magic and they don't believe in that voodoo. And I was like, okay, that's fine. You don't have to believe in it, but you I don't know, kind of goes along with what I told you I wanted to talk about eventually, the power of denial. Because if you think that all of these things are just happening just because, like, no, you don't have to practice voodoo or black magic, but to deny that it exists, that's
and a lot of
know.
people don't.
It's interesting.
You know, it's a lot of just lack of information. Like a lot of people who don't even subscribe to certain things. I'm like, do you realize that a large portion of the Bible and even a lot of the terminology is based off of astrology?
Right.
Do you know that?
Right.
So why you calling this black magic? And I don't believe in this. I'm like, there. Oftentimes people are accessing the same things that you are too, and you just don't know it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got mine all out. Is we good?
Well, we just had a comment on the Facebook page. I can't see it, but it says, "Hey Q and Nikki, do you believe that the gay agenda should be taught in school?"
I question what is the gay agenda. That's real broad.
Okay.
Now if we're talking about I would probably say no. And I would say it for the same reason that I don't believe that prayer or religion should be taught in schools either. I take more issue with potential agendas of that agenda, and also the people who are going to teach it.
That part.
So,
and that's
not because I don't think there should be awareness, and we're not gonna act like it don't exist or it's not. If we don't talk about it, then not for that reason. But there's certain things in school that I don't necessarily trust our educators with, and not just even. I go to church every every week.
Mm-hmm.
Take my kids, my children go to children's church, and after, okay, what did you learn? Tell me about it. And we talk about it, and I'll tell them things that, okay, well, that's one way to look at it, but let me also tell you this. Let me show you big picture. I'm very cautious of who's teaching my kids and what they're teaching them, especially when it comes to math is just math. 1 + 1 is going to be 2.
Right. That ain't gonna be much changing.
History is a little bit more tricky because they can teach you certain elements. So even when they teach you history, I'm like, okay, that's good, but let me also fill in some of these gaps for you that they're not telling you. Science is usually science. It's not too much wiggle room in between science, but you just have to be careful, and especially when you go to something like the gay agenda. There's a lot of unknowns in there, and especially if there's a lot of people that's not qualified to speak on it properly.
Right.
Same thing with church and spirituality. There's so many people not qualified to speak on it. I'd be cautious having just anybody trying to teach that. And then once that gets in there, you know that the powers that be, the 1%, the people, this is a perfect opportunity to get our message to put, and they will pay to have. They already do that. That's the same way that they're fighting to keep critical race theory out of schools, but they can still tell you about, Texas history or it's like I ain't gonna put nobody's name out there, but it was somebody in the South that I knew that was in some of our meetings, and they kind of try to justify, the Confederacy and this and this and that. And I'm like, no, that's what they taught you.
Right.
But that ain't what it was. They trying to tell you, it was about slavery and X, Y, and Z. But it's one of those things to where they can curve that agenda of what they, anyway. So my answer is no. What about you?
I pretty much agree with you for all the same reasons. I think I have even less faith in the education system perhaps than you do, right? And maybe not, but I definitely am very, very skeptical of the adults that are in these buildings that our children are in. There was a time where teachers were something that you looked up to and you revered with all respect, and they were just like walking books of knowledge, and like the teacher's answer was gold.
Right.
And especially when you were little and you didn't know any better, or you were little and you didn't have the internet to read, to
Before
check, and you were
Wikipedia
little and you
Google,
just, you know what I'm saying? Like you
Right.
believed everything. And even though your intuition may be like, man, this don't sound right, this don't feel right, like
Right.
you didn't question. And a lot of the times, most of us were not raised to question adults. We were raised to keep our mouth shut. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Yes, sir. No, sir. And this is just what it's going to be. We've seen how indoctrinated school has become, from learning real history versus what they told us and what they taught us. I think something as simple as us being told our whole lives that Christopher Columbus discovered America, and then for us to learn probably in our 20s somewhere that they literally fucking lied all throughout our history classes, and are still lying. Now of course they call it Indigenous Peoples Day, but it's like, I remember even a couple years ago, one of my sons coming home talking about, well, today's Christopher Columbus Day, and the teacher was talking about it, and I had to basically counteract that, yeah, he did not discover America. So between that and just my own personal beliefs and philosophies about science and space, and just different things, the whitewashing of history, so for me, I've really kind of lost my image of what a teacher used to be. That doesn't mean that I don't think that there are still those teachers. That doesn't mean that the school isn't full of some of the most amazing adults that a child could ever have access to, because sometimes those are those places. But I've just come across so many scenarios where you run into a regular ass person, because that's all a teacher is. A teacher is a regular ass person. So if you are a regular, unhappy, bitter, spiteful, racist, homophobic, transphobic, whatever the fuck you want to call it in your regular life, you're also that when you go to work Monday through Friday.
That's true.
So I don't trust those sources anymore. And because I do believe that so much agenda has bled into the mission of inclusion, I don't think it's right for the school to teach that. Just like I don't think it's right for the school to talk about religion, because that is that parent's right.
Right.
I don't think it's appropriate for the school to talk about sex education per se with children that haven't gotten permission by the parents.
Right.
And I do understand there are those scenarios and those cases where the teacher may be the only trusted adult that a kid has. Maybe the kid's parents are absolutely terrible, worthless parents, and the teacher is the one trusted person. There's just slippery slopes and dangerous places that come into play when you put that kind of trust into an adult whose compass might not be calibrated ethically the way that I want to raise my children.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So no, I think it's very okay, and I think that it should be okay for school to be a safe place for children to go to. I think that children should be able to not be judged, and relationships with all friends be encouraged, and just like kids at school have been friends with my son and his insulin needs every single day since he was diagnosed. Like, they know he's the kid with the needle. They know he's the kid that has to poke his fingers. Like, he's not the fucking weirdo in the cafeteria. Like, he's the kid who's got diabetes. So you have to have safe spaces for children to go to. But I just think that in the school, it's not the proper place to teach those types of subjects. And it's unfortunate that there are adults who have taken advantage of that, who have ruined that for the adults that do want to be a safe space for a kid. But I think that if you
a lot of kids in adult bodies too, so.
Well, hello. And I think if you ethically have a spirit of inclusion, those kids are going to be drawn to you anyways, whether you teach a curriculum of gay agenda or whatever the case may be. Those kids are going to come to you, and you're going to be able to have a relationship with them where you can still impart safety for them and conversations without stepping out of bounds and without pushing. I was watching something just recently. There's a lady who, did she get fired? I think she got fired, or she got suspended from her job. She's a teacher, for showing the movie Strange World. And I don't know if you remember me talking about this when Strange World first came out. It was a Disney movie, and it came out in the last, I don't know, 6-8 months or so. It's an all Disney movie. And initially, I was like, this is a cool ass movie. Like the movie was totally unlike any other script that I'd seen. There was
Must have been in the rural neighborhood.
well, they were all explorers
Small
and shit.
town.
So like of this one particular
the school
family,
must have been in a small town. Well, go ahead.
well, of this one particular family that they focused the movie on, the little boy was biracial, which you never see in Disney films, or like you just don't see that. The little boy was biracial. His mom was black. His dad was white. I was like, oh shit! Like you just don't generally see this written into the cartoons. And so as I'm watching the movie and shit's all good, and then they are out in the field doing something, and the car pulls up of some friends of the kids, and all of a sudden they wrote into the story, these two boys like each other. Fine, boys like each other sometimes, right? But I'm like, this is a fucking Disney movie. This is a Disney movie targeted for like young children. And so there's this relationship between the two boys, and like the mom is supporting it and the dad is supporting it, and like they're trying to get the two boys to like, it's okay to like each other, and he just likes you, and all these things, and that's fine, right? Like, yes, because inclusion is necessary. So what the fuck's that got to do with the science lesson? What does that have to do with the lesson that this teacher, she was like, well, we were talking about Earth and exploration, and so this is a movie about Earth exploration. No, this is not. No, it's not.
Yeah.
No, it's not. And it's not the worst movie in the world, but I'm here in fucking you with me and my kids.
But not only that, why did the teacher feel more obligated to introduce this than there's certain things and I don't even have to go that far. Like, just let's just, should I be the one as a teacher or a non-parent to be the one to talk to your kids about the birds and the bees without your permission?
Right.
Like, why would you feel that you were the one who needed to introduce that element of inclusion or exposure? Like, what made you feel like you were the one who had to do that, and why would you feel like that's just not a good idea?
No. And she tried to say, and so then like the feedback was, like, did you get permission from the parents? Did everybody give permission for the children to watch this movie? Do the parents know what's in this movie? And she was like, at the beginning of the year, we send home a form that basically says we will show movies that are PG-13 in this class. Do you consent? So she got a blanket as consent in the very beginning of the year. That covers anything.
She had an agenda.
I agree. I feel like I agree.
She had an agenda, and she had one to the point that she felt compelled to push it. She wanted to push something that even the parents themselves were not pushing their children to see.
Yeah.
Why would you overstep the parents? Like I said, why would I talk to your kids about the birds and the bees when the parents themselves have not decided to go that route at this point in time?
Yep.
I would only do it because I have my own agenda.
Right.
Or even if I'm feeling like they need to know. So do I know, or I feel like I know what the kids need more than the parents themselves? Yes, that's going to get you fired every time.
Yep. Yep.
And I'm okay with that. You should have got fired.
I mean, how simple would it have been for you to send an email to your parents saying, hey, parents, this is the movie that we're going to watch. There's some content in here that you might want to review before I show the movie. Right. There's so many ways that she could have gone about this to at least, inform the parents, because people are like, somebody was like, there's only a really small part. No, the fuck there's not. I saw the movie in the theater. There's not a really small part.
Transparency.
It's a lot.
You did that on the cool because you didn't.
You knew.
Yeah.
You knew.
Exactly.
You knew there was going to be some pushback.
Hold on a second. Let me see this. Somebody asked me, I don't even, this Facebook user, say Q in person. Okay. You talk to me in person. You said you don't speak much on spirituality. You sound like you have strong beliefs, but are calculated about how you articulate your beliefs. Okay. Well, shoot, I think you got it.
It's a Miss Hornsby.
Okay. Yeah, I got that.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's one of those things. I have strong beliefs about everything. Um, I have very strong beliefs about everything, and
Right.
my beliefs are strong, but they're also flexible. So I put
Right.
strong beliefs out there because I want my beliefs to be challenged. The beliefs that I have now came from being in spaces where other people challenged my beliefs, which
Right.
forced me to review and modify what I believe, so that, as what I call the old biblical term, tested in the fire.
Mhm.
Put your ideas through the fire. Put them up against other people who also have strong beliefs and solid reason and rationale behind why they have their beliefs too. If your beliefs don't stand up, then you probably need to reevaluate why you believe what you
Mhm.
believe and make
Mhm.
some changes. I
Mhm.
attribute so much of my my I my strong belief system. I'm very, very strong belief. I attribute that to listening. So when I sound like I'm talking emphatically and I know what I'm talking about, it comes off that way because I listen. I do a whole lot of listening, and I do a whole lot of adjustment and analyzing and reflecting. And that's what I feel like. Even my thoughts, it ain't me just having a strong thought. It's my tribe gives me a collection of viewpoints and perspectives that I could never get just by myself.
Right.
And that's why I feel like I'm a well-rounded person, because I'm not, I don't see things just through my eyes. I see things
Right.
through Nikki's eyes, and through Jules' eyes, and through Stacy, and through Ivory, and through Smack, and so many people that I associate with who I'm like, man, I ain't look at it that way.
Mhm.
Not only I never would have saw it that way. That's interesting. So
It's interesting. And it really kind of speaks to the volume and value of like being around people who are not like you, being around people who are not in the circles that you're in, like having friends that are different, just having friends that are different, period. You know, because you do get exposed to so much more than if you're literally only around people who think and feel and believe just like you. And that's not a bad thing. You
right,
do want a collective. I love to be around people who think and feel like I do too. But I do the most learning, like you said, when I'm challenged. I do the most
right.
learning when I come across somebody whose perspective is totally different than mine. Able to be taught something, able to hear something differently. Um, and there's a big difference between spirituality and, you know, running around professing the word 24/7 too, you know, and there's a huge difference between those two, in my opinion.
I
Ivor
agree.
said she got a shout out. Yeah, he shouted at you.
All right, we had 2 hours. Is we done, Nikki?
We are. That was a great conversation. I appreciate everybody who was in the comment section. Again, I don't know what is happening with the sign in. So next week, if you guys are, going to jump in here with us, check the permissions. Like it used to always show up whose face and whose name was on there. I do not know what happened in here somewhere. So if you do log in, try to check that out.
And get
Because we
through
would
it,
love
because
to
I
know
had
who we're
to,
talking
like,
to.
even when I logged on through my phone, it made me do something different that I never had to do before. I almost had to,
And
like,
I haven't seen any permissions change in here, so I don't know what the deal is.
it
But
wasn't a
I'll try to.
permission, but it made me like verify through my it put me through a couple loops before I can get in.
Okay.
So yeah,
Well, we'll
just
try
go
to
through the
look into
loops so
some
you
of
can get
that
in.
because again, I do like to see who we're talking to. And y'all join us, man. We love that you're here with us in the comment section and conversation. But jump on here, get involved with us, have a conversation with us. If you're like too afraid to be seen, you can change your name and wear glasses and a hat, right? But like, come in here and have a conversation with us. We need some topic ideas, so I appreciate everybody who tags me on stuff. They're like free thinkers post, free thinkers topic, free thinkers ideas. So I always appreciate people for giving us ideas and suggestions. I know I definitely want to get into denial here at some point here
Oh
fairly
yeah,
soon. I
I'll
don't
do
know when
that.
we're going to
We
do
can
this,
do
but
that. Hey, we can do that next week. I'm good with
okay,
that.
so we'll do next week the power of denial. And that
I
can
like
go any direction you want to. So the power of denial will be our topic for next week. So consider joining us. Please share the page, of course. Like, love, share, like, love, share, like, love, share. And we appreciate you for hanging out with us tonight. So have a good night. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Good night.